Welcome and welcome. Today I want to make a straight to the point video on exposing new and shocking details and evidence involving the trucking guru and the elaborate scam that is allegedly to have been said going on. My only purpose in doing so is out of hope that for the victims to get some type of justice. Let us begin. So as you can see, Frank E. Lightner, who is listed as a co-defendant or was listed as a co-defendant to the trucking guru, also known as Kiera Henderson, was actually convicted of business fraud, possession of a counterfeit instrument, I attempted identity theft, and attempted credit card theft. According to the North Carolina Department of Adult Correction, Frank E. Lightner was born on December 25th, 1984, and he definitely has quite the actual resume. First dating back to 2009 with a specific date of December 3rd, 2009. He was convicted of attempted credit card theft, and on that same date was convicted of attempted identity fraud/theft. He did receive a 6-month to a 8-month sentence for the attempted identity theft. However, though, he was arrested again and of possession forward/slash transportation of a counterfeit instrument and obtaining property by false pretenses, and was convicted of those felonies on May 23rd, 2016. He was sentenced to a minimum of 10 months up to 1 year and 9 months and was released on March 2017. Shortly after, he was in trouble again, and this time he was convicted about a year later, May 23rd, 2018, of financial card fraud. He was sentenced to 6 months up to 1 year and 5 months. He was released to parole. Actual release date was November 19th, 2018. It does appear that he was arrested within a month, about a month after that date. Well, he has an offense date about a month after that release date, and racking up another charge of obtaining property by false pretenses forward/slash solicitation. Conviction date was June 5th, 2019. And he was sentenced to a term of probation, a suspended sentence, and a misdemeanor confinement program. Also, this appears to have been in effect since in concurrent with the parole date. And again, his parole ended in August 2019, which is a very important key date that I would like to stress. But before I do so, I do want to say that I am not fond of, bringing up anybody's criminal history, because people do change. And that's why I'm not bringing up all of his convictions. We're all capable of changing, but if your criminal history shows a clear pattern to the current situation, if it gives meaningness to it, or if it has important information like establishing key dates, in in conjunction with the current scenario, then it is fair game. And for those who kind of want to argue or disagree with that, let me explain this to you in legal terms. And so, according to the Federal Rule of Conviction or Federal Rule of Evidence, Rule 609, past convictions may be admitted to impeach a witness or defendant under the following conditions: if the crime was punishable by death or a prison sentence of greater than 1 year, or if the crime involved fraud or dishonesty. So, after reading that, I think we can 100% agree that his conviction history, if it, because the fact that it does involve fraud and dishonesty, that it is and can be admissible as evidence. There are some rules, such as time limits, but that is clearly not the case, as it would be somewhere around 10 years, and that did not pass. Okay, so going back to a very important key date, uh, he did show, it does show that his parole was terminated and looks appeared to have ended on August 16th, 2019. And this is also around the same date that he incorporates a business, August 13th, 2019, which is 3 days earlier than his parole ending. Frank Leitner, he incorporates Capital Trucking, or Capital Choice Trucking LLC. I do want to point out as well that the incorporating address does list a address in North Carolina, which seems to fit the situation. But again, this is a very important key date, because this is where you start to see the business forming that basically became the businesses that involved the trucking guru. So within a month of Frank incorporating Capital Choice Logistics, Kiera Henderson does form the Trucking Guru Instagram page, and that can be evidenced right here, July 2019. Again, like I said, it's very it's a coincidence. It doesn't really necessarily mean anything, but the fact that the businesses are forming around the same date. Also, to give more context to that, I want to give more context to that and to the situation. So, and you can clearly see on her Instagram page, the Trucking Guru, she brags about having 20, creating 20 millionaires. And I'm sure a lot of us had wondered how, or have asked what was her secret. Well, I think I found the answer for you. On January 2nd, 2020, about 4 months after the business was created, the trucking guru herself posted a photo with a comment stating, "Had to pull my own heavy hitters for this mission I'm on. Core meeting, getting everything lined up for these 20 millionaires in the making." I wonder if you can actually see who's actually in the room. If you can see him now. Or maybe you can see him in this picture that was also posted the same day. Can you see it? I think you know that was Frank Lightner, Kiera's partner. And you can tell that obviously he was already um, between August 16th, 2019 and the uh, January 2nd, 2020, they are connected. Maybe not by exact partnership already, but obviously Frank Leitner was there when she was getting her 20 millionaires in the making ready. And so does the 20, the number 20 millionaires in the making, does it mean something by itself? Not necessarily, but collectively, along with the other evidence that I'm presenting to you, it does mean a lot. And it does give context and it does give meaning to what actually is going on. And moving on, I do want to talk about just briefly want to talk, talk about the LLCs, the multiple LLCs, some of them tax forfeited, that went on. Um, they were already reviewed, and it was the three of them that we have identified, which was, or four of them, with the first one obviously being Capital Choice Trucking, TTG Logistics, and the Trucking Guru LLC, and the Tioga Brothers Freight LLC. They were already identified and videos put out there by Spencer Cornelius, who did a good job. Um, and this was already put out there. I wanted to touch bases with those because after doing a name search for Kiera Henderson, we also come across two more LLCs that appear to be tied to her name, and the address that's also tied to her. So I did search for Kiera Henderson, and she did come up as a director for KTH Management, and with agent address of 3140 Sanctuary Drive, Cedar Hill, Texas. And this is going to be the same address that is also listed in the complaints that we're just going to quickly re-examine as well. So that address is tied to the trucking guru uh, address history, we should say. But before we move on to the complaints, I do want to show you a possible another LLC that could be tied to Kiera Henderson. This is called Always Henderson. And the reason why I say that it's possible because the registered address is P.O. Box. Kiera Henderson is listed as a managing member. And this LLC is forfeited in existence. I'm sure, it will be investigated further by the state. So we'll just leave it at that. It's a possibility. But I'm pretty sure the KTH management, especially with that address, and at that in that name that is written on multiple documents, such as the DOT website, motor carrier information for Capital Choice Trucking. The address is 3140 Sanctuary Drive, Cedar Hill, Texas. And again, it is listed on the complaints submitted by different victims to the state attorney General of Texas. Now, I do want to quickly revisit these complaints now that we can re examine it with new uncovered information and see if there's anything that can be established. So, and it should be pretty obvious to you, but we'll re examine it briefly. In the first complaint, the victim does allege that she did pay Kiera, excuse me, she did pay Kiera 2,500 for her truck plug. And then she was contacted by a guy named Frank about a truck that she inquired about. He told me that the cost of the truck would be $40,000 and told me where to actually wire the money. So, do you see how the victim alleges Kiera and Frank working together, and the elements of wire fraud really actually coming into play? The same guy who was convicted of financial fraud and false pretenses is the same guy who this victim is wiring money to. And this doesn't even get any better. It gets just actually worse. But we already know what the worst is. Let's just move on and let's re-examine the second victim. As we most of us know, in the second complaint, this victim was alleges a striking similar story of how she was contacted by Frank and was allegedly told that she would receive 10 or more trucks, depending on the price. And the victim alleges to have been defrauded twice, tricking her out of a total of $460,000. I do find it, um, how would I say it? That it just confirms, I find it corroborating that the victim, the first victim, uh, went through a similar, can describe the same exact situation that the second victim went through. And pretty sure they don't know each other because the other would have told them what happened, and probably the other one would have stayed out of stayed cleared of the obvious skin that is just happening to them. And honestly, I just want to really say that this is just um, kind of very disgusting that people would do this to people like that. At this magnitude, it it is sad that people resort to this. And I mean, come on, like, you're in the U.S., you really don't even have no excuse. This is just pure greed. I did wanted to keep this video short, so I just want to say that there honestly is so much more bombshell information that needs to be dropped, like the Capital Choice, Capital Choice Trucking LLC, it being out of service and why it's out of service. If we click on SMS results in the history, or on the top right, excuse me, we can get the actual carrier history of the motor carrier. And you can actually see, one moment, you can actually see, well, this part is the licensing If I'll show you. If you click on licensing and insurance, you can go to click the robot. You can actually get key information, such as the revocation. They received an involuntary revocation effective April 10, 2023. It was obviously first served on March 7, 2023. The authority history, it was revoked on that date, March 10th, 2023, and was granted on June 9, 2022. It does show the carrier details, which was on the first page. The SMS, which is the safety motor safety measurement system, it does give details of the carrier history, which does show how many trucks were involved at any given time, how many inspections. It does show about 5 violations that was racked up, including driving without a CDL. I do want to just show you that real quick. And there's a lot of information to a lot of these motor carriers that are tangent to these companies, the multiple companies that the trucking gurus is affiliated with. So that needs to be looked into, but I feel like that should be done in a separate video. And let me show you the violations first. In the violation summary, is it this one? Actually, no, it's not this one. A moment. Okay, so the violation history that I did examine was on Capital Choice Trucking. I did click on complete SMS history, and again, you see the violations that were incurred. Operating a CMV without a CDL, an operator required lamp, an operative turn signal. You could see the actual trucks that they owned with the VIN numbers, if that's helpful to the victims, if any. Not sure if it is, but under Capital Choice Trucking, another thing I wanted to point out as well was that even though this was incorporated in August 2019, August 13, 2019, there was no trucks registered. They did not receive authority for the carrier until 2022. So these 3 trucks that were inspected, number of inspections on the 3 trucks, 4 drivers, one of them without a license. So again, these trucks that were again, inspected and registered underneath this carrier definitely wasn't until 2022, but again, we'll leave that on a different video. And along with the history of the other motor carriers. And again, I hope this is useful. So feel free to leave a comment below, especially if you're a victim, or reach out to your attorney general. It's important and fair that the magnitude of their victimization be accurately assessed. And I don't see how there's not wire fraud. I can't imagine them happily paying federal taxes if they can't even pay their state company taxes. And that's just called tax evasion. But what I can see is PPP loan involvement, but that's just my opinion. I'm just going to leave it at that. I hope this helps, and good luck.